We're going to continue to talk about how these forced birther, Christo-fascist, anti-woman policies in some of these red states are harming women. This article titled Dozens of Pregnant Women, Some Bleeding or in Labor, Are Turned Away from ERs Despite Federal Law. That is because too many lawmakers who don't give a about women are out here making laws that impact women and harm women because they don't give a damn about women. They care more about a fetus than the woman's life. Bleeding and in pain, Kylie Thurman didn't know her doomed pregnancy could delete her. Emergency room doctors at Ascension Seton Williamson in Texas handed her a pamphlet on miscarriage and told her to let nature take its course before discharging her without treatment for her ectopic pregnancy. When the 25-year-old returned 3 days later, still bleeding, doctors finally agreed to give her an injection to end the pregnancy. It was too late. The fertilized egg growing on Thurman's fallopian tube ruptured, destroying part of her reproductive system. So these forced birther states want women to have babies, but don't give a damn that they're actually hurting them and causing them to not be able to have any more kids. That's according to a complaint Thurman and the Center for Reproductive Rights filed last week, asking the government to investigate whether the hospital violated federal law when staff failed to treat her initially in February 2023. I was left to flail, said Thurman. It was nothing short of being misled. The Biden administration says hospitals must offer abortions when needed to save a woman's life, despite state bans enacted after the Supreme Court overturned the constitutional right to a termination more than 2 years ago. Texas is challenging that guidance, and earlier this summer, the Supreme Court declined to resolve the issue. I wish women that can get away, parents that actually give a damn about their daughters, will get them out of these forced birther states. Stop trying to have kids in these states. It is not safe. More than 100 pregnant women in medical distress who sought help from emergency rooms were turned away or negligently treated since 2022, an Associated Press analysis of federal hospital investigations found. 2 women, one in Florida and one in Texas, of course, because these are Christo-fascist states, were left to miscarry in public restrooms. In Arkansas, a woman went into septic shock and her fetus died after an emergency room sent her home. At least 4 other women with ectopic pregnancies had trouble getting treatment, including one in California who needed a blood transfusion after she sat for 9 hours in an emergency waiting room. Now, that is California. Please note and understand that simply because California votes blue doesn't mean that there are not these conservatives and Christo-fascists in California. Please know and understand that California is not all the way blue, just like Illinois is not all the way blue, simply because Chicago is. Abortion bans complicate risky pregnancy care. In Texas, where doctors face up to 99 years of prison if convicted of performing an illegal termination, medical and legal experts say the law is complicating decision-making around emergency pregnancy care. Although the state law says termination of ectopic pregnancies isn't considered abortion, the draconian penalties scare Texas doctors from treating those patients, the Center for Reproductive Rights argues. Now, women in these forced birther states that think, oh, it's just those other people, those loose and lascivious, immodest women that are impacted. That's the reason why I'm pro-life. Well, you guys try having babies in a place where doctors can't perform needed medical care and see if you have a uterus left, a fallopian tube left after it ruptures. Please know and understand that you're not just voting for the loose and lascivious women to have some rights. No, this is impacting women who actually wanted to be pregnant and have babies as well. As fearful as hospitals and doctors are of running afoul of these state abortion bans, they also need to be concerned about running afoul of federal law, said Mark Huron, a center attorney. Hospitals face a federal investigation, hefty penalties, and threats to their Medicare funding if they violate the federal law. The organization filed complaints last week with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Service, alleging that different Texas emergency rooms failed to treat two patients, including Thurman, with ectopic pregnancies. One complaint says Kelsey Norris de la Cruz, 25, lost a fallopian tube and most of an ovary after an Arlington, Texas hospital sent her home without treating her ectopic pregnancy, even after the doctor said discharge was not in her best interest. The doctors knew I needed a smomorphin, but these bans are making it nearly impossible to get basic emergency health care, she said in a statement. I'm filing this complaint because women like me deserve justice and accountability from those who hurt us. Now, she says women like me. I don't know if she is a woman that points out that she's different from the loose and lascivious women that are just using smomorphin as birth control, or if she actually cares about all women. I don't know, but she's filing this complaint. Conclusively diagnosing an ectopic pregnancy can be difficult. Doctors cannot always find the pregnancy's location on an ultrasound. 3 doctors consulted for this article explained. Hormone levels, bleeding, a positive pregnancy test, and an ultrasound of an empty uterus all indicate an ectopic pregnancy. You can't be 100%. That's the tricky part, said Kate Arnold, an OBGYN in Washington. They are literally time bombs. It's a pregnancy growing in this thing that can only grow so much. Texas Right to Life doctor John Ciego says state law protects doctors from prosecution for terminating ectopic pregnancies, even if a doctor makes a mistake in diagnosing it. Sending a woman back home is completely unnecessary, completely dangerous, Ciago says. But the state law has absolutely made doctors afraid of treating pregnant patients, said Hannah Gordon, an emergency medicine physician who worked in a Dallas hospital until last year. She recalled a patient with signs of an ectopic pregnancy at her Dallas emergency room. Because OBGYNs said they couldn't definitely diagnose the problem, they waited to the end of the pregnancy until she came back the next day. It left a bad taste in my mouth, said Gordon, who left Texas hoping to become pregnant and worried about the care she'd received there. Oh my God, I'm dying. When Thurman returned to Ascension Seton Williamson a third time, her OBGYN told her she needs surgery to remove the fallopian tube, which had ruptured. Thurman, still heavily bleeding, balked. Losing the tube would jeopardize her fertility. Her doctor told her she risked death if she waited any longer. She came in and she's like, you're either going to have a blood transfusion, or you're going to have the surgery, or you're going to bleed out. Thurman said through tears. That's when I was kind of like, oh my God, I'm dying. The hospital declined to comment on Thurman's case, but it said in a statement, it is committed to providing high quality care to all who seek out our services. Okay, yeah, right. How many times do women have to almost be dying before you actually help them? Is that quality? Is that high quality? Is that the quality you would want to give your mother? In Florida, a 15-week pregnant woman leaked amniotic fluid for an hour in Broward Health Coral Springs emergency wait room, according to federal documents. An ultrasound revealed the patient had no amniotic fluid surrounding the fetus, a dangerous situation that can cause serious infection. The woman miscarried in a public bathroom that day. After the emergency room doctor listed her condition as improved and discharged her without consulting the hospital's OBGYN. Emergency crews rushed her to another hospital where she was placed on a ventilator and discharged after 6 days. Smomorphins after 15 weeks were banned in Florida at the time. Broward Health Coral Springs obstetrics medical director told an investigator that inducing labor for anyone who presents with a pre-viable premature rupture of membranes is the standard of care, has been for a while, regardless of heartbeat, due to the risk to the mother. The hospital declined to comment. In another Florida case, a doctor admitted state law had complicated emergency pregnancy care. Because of the new laws, staff cannot intervene unless there is a danger to the patient's health. A doctor in Memorial Regional Hospital in Hollywood, Florida, told an investigator who was probing the hospital's failure to offer a smomorphin to a woman whose water broke at 15 weeks, well before the fetus could survive. Troubles extend beyond bans. States serious violations that jeopardize a mother's or a fetus's health occurred in states with and without bans, the AP's review found. Two short staffed hospitals in Idaho and Washington admitted to investigators they routinely directed pregnant women to other hospitals. A pregnant woman at a Bakersfield, California emergency room was quickly triaged, but staff failed to realize the urgency of her condition, a uterine rupture. The delay, an investigator concluded, may have contributed to the baby's death. Doctors at emergency rooms in California, Nebraska, Arkansas, and South Carolina failed to check for fetal heartbeats or discharge patients who were in active labor, leaving them to deliver at home or in ambulances, according to the documents. Nursing and doctor shortages, trouble staffing ultrasounds around the clock, and new abortion laws are making the emergency room a dangerous place for pregnant women, warned Dara Cass, an emergency medical doctor and former U.S. Health and Human Services official. Look at this very bottom sentence. It is increasingly less safe to be pregnant and seeking emergency care in an emergency department, she said. And that is the end of the article. Now, think about this. It is increasingly less safe to be pregnant. Yet, these politicians go on and on and on ad nauseum about the birth rate. You got billionaires and millionaires wringing their fingers and their hands because so many women don't want to have kids. You got politicians talking about cat ladies, childless women, child free women, but they still cannot get it together to where doctors can have some common sense about the care that they're giving women. This is the reason why me, as a mother, as a woman who has had two miscarriages myself, gets so fired up at all of this conversation, because we're not taking women's health seriously, because too many of these pro-life or these forced birthers, these Christo fascists, don't give a damn about women's health. They only care about a dang on fetus and not the woman that has already been born whose life is in jeopardy. Y'all, I'm obviously fired up, but join the conversation. Tell me what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.